All right, today we're talking about dead wrestlers. People that passed away that we miss from our childhood or whenever. Some that just recently passed. But a friend of and creator who was on Crimson Color Comic Club, Matt Rodgers, and also part of the Cartoonist by Night drawing show. He made this Dead Wrestlers book that's available for $5, volume 1, that he put together. It's great for casual wrestling fans, newer wrestling fans, hardcore wrestling fans. If you're a collector of wrestling memorabilia and stuff, might be something you want in your collection, but it doesn't get too deep on the characters, background and stuff, but has some nice little things in there about the people and what happened to them. I'm not going to give away all the characters in here. I will just show for you a little so you can see what it looks like on the inside. Here's a representation of Kerry Von Erich. You obviously see 3 wrestlers on the cover there. But I'm not going to give you the rest of them. You're going to have to find out for yourself by picking it up for your collection. I will put all the information in the show notes for you to find where to get this. He's got a very limited amount of them, so I'm not sure if they'll even be available once I put this video out, but I love the back imagery of the first WrestleMania. That's just such an iconic image of one of the biggest events of our time back then. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. Just a neat little way to throw things together. I was always curious about documentary-wise, legality-wise, how you can get away with doing things like this, and if it is something anybody can do, if you get into like documentary style things, or talking about the really real world. Yeah, I was always curious about that. So and there are certain people like Mr. McMahon that he's not going to let anybody else make a penny off of anything that he's done over the years. So I could just imagine what could happen if something was made that was big and to the masses. But yeah, I'm not really sure how that goes, but this was a fun thing that I had to pick up for my little wrestling collection, especially since it was someone that I now know that put it together. If you don't know Matt Rodgers, he is the artist for Happy Astronaut, which is a wonderful, all-ages, family-friendly story about an astronaut character that gets sent off into the universes to explore, and he comes across some very unique and interesting planets along his way, and a little robot that ends up being his little travel partner. And it just so happens that in these later issues of the book, there's some wrestling crossovers. So I'm not going to give anything away. You got to check it out. Check out the story yourself. But if you like wrestling and stuff, the Happy Astronaut story does link into some wrestling stuff. So you may enjoy that. But I suggest checking both of them out. Both of these things, Happy Astronaut and Dead Wrestlers. But yeah, it's Matt Rodgers and Matt Fife are the creators for the Happy Astronaut part, and Matt Rodgers did the Dead Wrestlers book, so check those out. I just wanted to go down the list of wrestlers that I found and see which ones stand out to me from over the years, such as, and this is all alphabetical, but Adrian Adonis passed at 33. Very freaky looking character. His outfits always drove me nuts, but he was in some very iconic matches over the years. But he sadly got in a car accident and passed at 33. Andre the Giant, of course, passed at 46 due to heart failure. I mean, the bigger wrestlers and the bigger characters, it's pretty much inevitable that you got to definitely watch for the heart-related items. Andy Kaufman, he passed at 35 from lung cancer. That character is very controversial. Introduction into wrestling with him, but yeah, you can't really mention wrestling without mentioning that period where he went through and did all that crazy stuff. Axl Rotten passed at 44 from a drug overdose. He was a fun wrestler to watch. Great tag team bouts. But yeah, the abuse from the chair shots and the other head trauma and stuff like that, a lot of these characters were affected by that. Bad News Brown passed at 63 from a heart attack. At least he hit a decent age, and if you can at least hit 60s, especially having that background, that lifestyle, I mean, you're doing pretty good. Balls Mahoney sadly passed at 44 of a heart attack, and he just, he put his body through some major abuse. And him and Axl Rotten did team up in the ECW days and stuff, and they just, yeah, those chair shots, I mean, Balls would just stand there and take chair after chair after chair. And that was a thing for every match that he did. And so that's just, yeah, your brain can't take that. Your brain, people, is this key part of your life that's floating around in this hard shell that's not really that protective, and it's just floating around in the liquids in there. So when you're hitting it, that thing's bouncing around like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, we didn't know that when we were kids. We'd headbutt each other and beat each other with chairs and stuff and bottles and all that crap. We didn't know. But Bam Bam Bigelow passed. Sadly, a drug overdose at 45, another key ECW wrestler that went on to many other things over the years. Big Boss Man passed of a heart attack at 41. He was at like all the different signings and stuff. He was a very outgoing person back in the day. Big Daddy V passed at 43 to heart conditions, heart attack, heart complication type stuff. Big Dick Dudley sadly passed to kidney failure at 34. I mean, that guy was so fun to watch too. And the Dudleys, all the Dudleys, just Big John Studd, movie star, wrestler. I mean, he had a big presence in life, and sadly got liver cancer and Hodgkin's disease and passed at 47. See, yeah, Blackjack Lanza passed at 86. Blackjack Mulligan passed at 73. Bob Armstrong passed at 80. All made it to a ripe age. Bobby Heenan, sadly, he made it to 72, but sadly that stupid throat cancer came in, and with him being an announcer, you could see it affect him. Bobby Eaton made it to 62. Christ, I didn't realize how many were in here. Brad Armstrong passed at 50. Bray Wyatt at 36. That was just such a big, sad shock when it happened. I mean, the guy had one of the biggest hearts in wrestling. If you haven't watched it, watch the new documentary of Bray Wyatt. Excellent documentary. It choked me up a few times. Throughout it, I learned a lot of things from that about Bray, and I wish I would have known a lot of that before he passed. I just, sadly, the way it happened with the heart attack, and just how quick, and just there are things that maybe could have been changed, done differently. I mean, at one point, he had a shock vest on where it would shock his heart anytime something would happen. And right then and there, things are getting weakened. if you're at that stage and you got to worry about stuff. But Brian Christopher Lawler, Jerry Lawler's kid, passed at 46 to suicide. I loved watching him wrestle. He was so fun, just so energetic. Brian Pillman, another one that we lost at a young age, that good or bad, you love to hate him and you love to like him. The guy he had his moments. He could turn you instantly to hate him. He was good at that. But yeah, he passed of a heart attack at 35, and I'm sure that had relations to certain types of drugs and stuff. I'm sure and he just has that persona of a lot of people I hung out with and stuff, and I could see him going on coke binges and stuff like that, and just doing damage to the heart. Brody Lee sadly passed about a year and a half before Bray Wyatt, really close together, but he passed of lung complications, and that affected Bray quite a bit when that happened. Bruiser Brody passed at 42. He was murdered when that happened, and he also trained with Fritz Von Erich camp and stuff. Bruno Sammartino made it to a ripe age of 82. Another huge presence in wrestling. Buddy Rogers made it to 71. Buddy Roberts made it to 65. And Buddy Rose made it to 56. Butch and Luke, Butch Miller from the Bushwhackers passed at, he made it to 78, and it's got undisclosed causes, so they didn't want to release any definites on the death. Captain Lou Albano passed at 76. His run with Cyndi Lauper and stuff throughout wrestling, that was so much fun to watch. His was a heart attack related also. Chris Adams passed at 46 due to a homicide. Apparently because of a drunken brawl type setup. Yeah, Chief J. Strongbow made it to a ripe age of 83. Chris Benoit, that was a real sad CTE, kind of set off the whole CTE related thing. Kind of the whole thing with him and his wife and kids and the suicide. It was such a big shock when it happened. Chris Candido, 33 years old, of pneumonia. You never expect something like that with him because of him and Sonny with their little body Donna's things, being perfect, being healthy. And then 33 pneumonia takes you. I mean, yeah, that's just... But those weird things can happen. Chris Von Erich, sadly, suicide at 21. I mean, he didn't really have... the mental issues going on with the whole Von Erich family at the time. And then the things that have happened, China passing at 46. She went through so much crap, and then the drugs just took over everything, and she couldn't deal with all the crap that she was going through, and between the media and everything else, she had some major problems over the years. Crash Holly passed at 32, which I did not know, suicide. He just disappeared all of a sudden from the scene. Kurt Hennig, 44 years old, drug overdose. Character that you would think wouldn't have been heavy into drugs, but with his persona, but yeah, he just, sadly, that's what took him. Davey Boy Smith passed at 39 years old of a heart attack. And big shock. The British Bulldogs were so So fun to watch. Dave Hebner, and a key referee that we've seen for many years. He made it to 73, undisclosed causes. Again, could have been some type of aneurysm. David Von Erich. Him and Fritz pretty much started the whole wrestling promotions, got everything going. I mean, the matches and everything, just, I think he would have went a really long way. I don't think there would have been any type of suicide or anything with David. I think David would have went the same route as what Kevin. I mean, Kevin's our last standing Von Erich son of the original Von Erichs. Wrestler that I idolized in my childhood. I always loved watching Kevin Von Erich. And but David was always fun to watch, but he went overseas to Japan and something just happened. I just don't know exactly. This could have been any type of fluke, any type of thing that happened. It was a bummer. It's like he was only 25 years old. He was in the prime of his wrestling. He was just taking titles and all that, and there's so much happening with him. But yeah, I was bummed about that. Dick Murdoch made it to 49. Dick Slater made it to 67, and Dick the Bruiser made it to 62. I'm not laughing at these people for dying. I'm just remembering some of these characters. It just, Dusty Rhodes made it to 69, passed the stomach cancer. Sadly, such a iconic character. Dynamite Kid passed of unknown causes. He made it to 60 though. So you ever want to get deep on these characters, just look up the dead wrestlers or wrestler deaths, and you'll find a whole list of these that get deep into the characters. I'd be spending hours upon hours if I got that deep into it. Earthquake, he was a big boy. He made it to 42. Bladder cancer, surprisingly. I figured for sure his would have been heart related. Eddie Guerrero, that was another bummer. Heart failure and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, ACD. But he sadly passed at 38. That was a real bummer. His wife still carried on his legacy a little bit and stuff, and there's still stuff going on with the kids, but Espectrito, which you would know if you're a wrestling fan back in the day as Mini Vader. He is a fun little character. I liked watching him. One of the mini luchadors. Passed at 49 from undisclosed causes. Fabulous Moolah, she made it to 83. Says unknown causes for her, but yeah, that lady, she was quite the female presence in the female wrestling world. Classy Freddie Blassie made it to 85. Fritz Von Erich passed at 68 from brain and lung cancer, and lots of stress over the years from losing his whole family and everything else with the wrestling franchise. Gary Hart made it to 66. Gene LaBelle made it to 89. This guy, He got a hold of me one time when I was a kid. At a signing type event. George the Animal Steel passed at 79. It's like his was due to kidney failure, but 79, he made it a long way. Another giant, which he made it to 61, the giant Baba. And he passed to cancer, so that's kind of surprising that he made it to 61 and it was cancer related. But yeah, he was a Japanese wrestler that just one of our giants that we lost. Speaking of giants, we also got Giant Gonzalez that had that weird body suit that they put him on. I hated that suit when he had that. I wish they would have stuck with just the standard style wrestling thing for him, but he passed at 44 of diabetes and heart issues. So, and then there's Giant Haystacks. He made it to 52. His was cancer related, but that boy was big. He is bigger than the Boss Man and them guys, and he was a presence, alright. Gorilla Monsoon made it to 62. Hard-boiled Hagerty made it to 78. Hana Kimura, that was sad. She passed at 22 to suicide. She was one of the newer female wrestlers I really enjoyed watching, and I was just shocked when I heard that. Harley Race made it to 76. Hayabusa made it to 47. He was an interesting Japanese style wrestler. 47's subarachnoid hemorrhage. I don't know if that's a hemorrhage in the skull, possibly. But I don't take my word for it. Hercules. I don't remember hearing about Hercules passing, but he passed at 47 from a heart disease. Iron Sheik made it to 81. Ivan Koloff made it to 74. Jack Briscoe made it to 68. Jack Tunney made it to 68. Jerry Jarrett made it to 80. It's Jeff Jarrett's father, I believe. Jerry Blackwell passed at 45, another big guy. His was by automobile accident, though. Jay Briscoe, is that Jerry Briscoe's kid? Passed away due to an accident at 38 years old. It was a motor vehicle accident. So, Jim the Anvil Neidhart passed at 63. From a fall? Fell at home, hit his head. Huh? Wow. I did not know it was from something like that. And he was 63 though, at least. So the way I say it, as long as you hit that 60 mark, you should have had a halfway decent life. Jimmy Superfly Snuka passed at 73 from stomach cancer. Yeah, I remember that. I don't know. I recognize some of the faces, but names aren't catching me. Joe LeDuc, 54. I remember his little Mad Dog Bashan style look to him. That was an accidental death. Junkyard Dog, the JYD. Love that character. Sadly passed at 45 due to a car accident. Kamala, I can't believe he made it to 70, and he was another big guy. It just says that he passed at 70. They're not going to give a reason for his. But I thought at one point they were doing benefits because he had to get his leg removed and stuff like that. Not sure. Don't take my word for it. Harry Von Erich, sadly, at 33. That was a suicide thing, also related to his father finding him with the pistol and all that. It's just that whole Von Erich storyline. But look up the Von Erichs on Apple, iTunes, whatever your podcasting platform. I can't remember where Kevin Von Erich and his sons did an interview, but they got really deep into the family history, and that one gives you some great ones. Great information on it. Another thing to check out would be the Dark Side of the Ring. That has some key things, a lot of things that happen about people over the years, and I would say that would be a good one to check out if you want to hear some deep histories of some of these characters. Kevin Green, the football player, passed at 58 due to a heart attack, spent some time in wrestling. Killer Khan made it to 76. Killer Kowalski made it to 81. King Kong Bundy passed at 61. La Parka, he made it to 55. Lung and kidney failure. Bummer. Fun wrestler. Lanny Poffo. That character. Loved him, hated him. Just kept going back and forth. And his brother was Macho Man Randy Savage. Once we found that out, that was just, yeah. And so he did Leaping Lanny Poffo. That was just such an interesting character, but it was funny finding out that he was Macho Man's brother, but he passed it. 68, undisclosed causes. Larry Henning made it to 82. Leroy Brown passed at 37 due to a stroke. I'm surprised we haven't heard more people that passed due to strokes. Lord Alfred Hayes made it to 76. Luna Vachon. Oh, she was so scary. But definitely interesting. But yeah, she passed a drug overdose at 48. Mae Young, she made it to 90. Mad Dog Vachon, there he is. He made it to 84. He's the first. Well, I didn't look at all the older people, but he's listed as natural causes. Masa Saito made it to 76. Matt Osborne, known to many as Doink the Clown. That character went through some good and bad times, but sadly passed of a drug overdose at 55. Mean Gene Okerlund made it to 76. Mike Awesome, he passed at 42 to suicide. Mike Von Erich passed at 23 to suicide. And didn't have a huge wrestling career, but wanted to be part of it. Got his feet in it. Miss Elizabeth sadly passed at 42 due to a drug overdose. She was our first lady of wrestling. So many special events with her and Macho Man over the years. Mr. Fuji made it to 82. Nancy Benoit, all part of the whole Chris Benoit thing with the suicide murder type thing. She was murdered by her husband Chris at 43 years old. It's just, she never had to go through something like that. New Jack, I'm amazed New Jack made it to 58, and I'm amazed he died of a heart attack. I figured his would have been drug overdose due to CTE damage, because man, New Jack, that boy, wow. The head trauma he had to have taken, he went through some nasty matches in ECW. Nick Bockwinkel made it to 80. I knew Jack, he'd bring the big garbage can full of weapons out to the ring and use every one of those. Nikolai Volkov made it to 70. Ole Anderson made it to 81. Outlaw Ron Bass passed at 68. This was and we were watching this pay-per-view when it happened. Was it a pay-per-view? It was a Monday night. I think it was a pay-per-view. But, yeah, he fell. They stuck him way high up in the rafters, and he fell from the rafters and passed at 34 years old, a blunt force trauma from an accidental fall. And, yeah, it was such a shock, that whole event, that just, when it happened, we were like, this can't be real. This has to be something set up through the organization or something. Owen Hart was just, he was like a guy that his persona and stuff, he didn't seem like he was as big as he was, but yeah, he would put out the stuff, he would do the work, and just, he was iconic, and he was just at such a key point of his career, and sadly all that crap happens. Pat Anderson made it to 79. Paul Bearer passed. Can't do his little thing. His little weird. I can't think how he did his whine thing all the time. He'd make his little squeaky noise. But he passed from an AFib incident at 58 years old. That was a big thing with The Undertaker and Kane and stuff around that period. Paul Orndorff made it to 71. Undisclosed causes. They just had a check, and usually they don't check over a certain age. Paul Vachon made it to 86. Pedro Morales, 76. Richard Trogdon, I believe that was the Mini Doink. He passed from surgery complications. The Mini Doink, the clown character. And he was only 39. Professor Tanaka made it to 70. Randy Anderson, referee, passed at 42. I think I do remember some tribute that they did for him. He passed of cancer at 42. Randy Savage, 58, to heart disease. A few years after Miss Elizabeth passed, sadly. Rick Rude made it to 40 only and had heart failure. The guy that showed off his body, and you expect characters like him and Mr. Perfect and all of them to just last forever, but yeah, 40 from heart failure, had the perfect body. All I can think of is relationship to drugs, maybe. And then we have Road Warrior Animal, passed at 60. He made it to 60. from a heart attack in 2020. And then Road Warrior Hawk passed at 46 from a heart attack in 2003, so 17 years earlier. So, okay. So I'm like, were they that much difference in age? Because I didn't think it was that far apart, their deaths. I thought it was more like 5 years apart. But yeah, that was a real bummer when Hawk passed. I mean, it was a bummer with Animal too, but Hawk was only 46. Rocco Rock from Public Enemy, he made it to 49, passed of a heart attack. Rocco Rock, Johnny Grunge, those some fun characters. Rocky Johnson made it to 75. Rowdy Roddy Piper, sadly, passed at 61 due to a blood clot and heart attack. I still call controversy over that. Roddy was a very easily aggravated person, and I wish he wouldn't have gotten into podcasting. I like his podcast and everything, but you could hear the stress. You could hear how he takes things the wrong way. And there was that period right before it that he was getting very aggravated. And then there was a big event going on where he was fighting with a podcasting organization and things were getting changed around. He was getting moved around. Someone that does Roddy Piper, how do you say it? They talk like him. They do plays on the way he acts and speaks and all that, and then mimics him, or I guess you could say. I'm not going to say who, but there was an event right before all this, and I was following the podcast and everything, and I'm like, yeah, you knew Rowdy that like 2-3 days before that, every day having lots of shit. You could just see the stress and anger building, and I'm guessing that it led right into him having too much stress and having a heart attack, because he would get very stressed out over things that really didn't matter. And sadly, that things like that can take you. You can be angry about something stupid 1 minute, and that can kill you. SD Jones made it to 63. Sapphire, Dusty Rhodes' little sweetie, she made it to 61. Let's see, I'm guessing heart attack. Yep. She passed of a heart attack, but she would come to the ring with Dusty Rhodes. They do the little dance thing and stuff. Scott Hall, that was a real bummer. 63, surgery complications, heart attack. But it was like just a couple months before him and Diamond Dallas Page were going to be wrestling in Fond du Lac, basically 15-20 minutes from me, and me and the wife were going to go check it out, go see him. It was going to be an awesome little afternoon event. I was all excited for it, and then all of a sudden we got this news. It's like, what? I can't accept it. Oh no, they sat there and reset my page, so now I gotta scroll down for a bit. But yeah, we were all set to go see that event, and then all that stuff happened, and DDP didn't make it up here for the event, and he was doing so good, and he was working with DDP, straightening up his life, finally got off certain issues that he was having, and was focusing more on bettering himself and doing the DDP program, and they had a whole thing going on, and just, yeah, that was very quick and sad when that happened. Scary Sherry Martel, passed at 49 from a drug overdose. Skandor Akbar passed at 75. Steve Dr. Death Williams passed at 49 from throat cancer. Stu Hart made it to 88, running the Hart camp. Superstar Billy Graham, that guy was such a huge mass, made it to 79. Terry Funk, I'm amazed that he made it to 79, but the stuff that boy put his body through, it just... Terry Gordy passed at 40 from a heart attack. One of the key characters from the Von Erich feuds over the years. The Crusher. Got to meet him a few times in Milwaukee, and he's from our area. And they have an event now every year in Milwaukee. It's a little Crusher event that they do, which looks fun. I'd like to get to it sometime. But he passed at 79. The Destroyer passed at 88. The Missing Link, that guy was a goofball. He made it to 68. Passing of lung cancer with all that green stuff and everything that these characters are spraying and stuff. Who knows what was in it. The Patriot, I remember that character. He passed it of a heart attack at age 59. The Sheik passed at 76 from a heart attack. Heart failure, I should say, not heart attack. Tim White, another longtime referee, passed at 68 from undisclosed causes. Zeus, Tommy Zeus Lister. I was wondering what happened to him. He just disappeared all of a sudden, but I didn't know he passed away at 62 from heart disease back in 2020. Tommy Rodgers passed at 54, another ECW alum. Undisclosed causes. Ultimate Warrior passed at 54. That was right after the Hall of Fame pre-WrestleMania event. It's like he came out, straightened up a lot of things from his negativities in the past with a lot of people right before the Hall of Fame event. I remember all that, and then I watched him do his thing, and then that night something happened. He had a heart attack. 54 years old. Umaga. He passed at 36 years old from a drug overdose, which I don't remember hearing anything about that. Uncle Elmer passed at 54 from kidney failure. Big old hillbilly wrestler back in the day. And then Vader, Mini Vader and Big Vader passed. We had Mini Doink and Big Doink passed already. It's like, but Vader passed at 63 from pneumonia. Another one that got hit with the pneumonia. Vern Gagne made it to 89. Vince McMahon Sr., he only made it to 69? Christ, he looked older than that when he passed, but he passed of cancer in 1984. Virgil, that was more recent, wasn't it? Just passed to 61 this year yet. Of undisclosed causes. That was like really recent. I remember seeing something not long ago. Wahoo McDaniel, another character I met back in the day when me and Dad would go to the wrestling events. Met him a couple times. He passed at 63 years old from kidney failure. And a lot of these guys, you figure, just on the road drinking and all that. Yokozuna was only 34 when he passed, but he had a pulmonary edema. But yeah, that's a good variety list of characters. But yeah, gonna miss them all. And there's many more. But with Kerry Von Erich, we got Lacey Von Erich, his daughters, still putting out the family name by wrestling out in the world still. Kerry had two daughters, but Lacey's the only one that went into wrestling. And then our other hopeful Von Erichs. I have high hopes for him from what I've listened to him talk about on podcasts and all that stuff. We have Kevin Von Erich's two sons that were Marshall and Ross that are in wrestling right now that I'm really wanting to follow their career and see where it goes. I think they're in AEW at the moment. But yeah, it's enjoyable seeing all that stuff. And then, of course, the CTE thing, that chronic traumatic encephalopathy. CTE stuff is a neurodegenerative disease linked to repeated trauma to the head, and that's what is affecting a lot of wrestlers, football players, boxers, soon-to-be mixed martial artists, and all that stuff. And you're going to see a lot of that stuff with any type of head trauma type thing, because like I said, our brains are just a little vessel floating in some juice that's getting bounced around every time we hit our heads and skulls. But yeah, I did this just to make it a big thing to go with this Dead Wrestlers book, which I will put all the information in my show notes from Matt Rodgers, and we'll get back with more fun stuff in the future. But yeah, I thought this was a fun thing to do, so hopefully you enjoyed. So check out Under the Color of MS. Keep following us, rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, and we'll get back with more stuff soon. Bye.